All right, folks. Well, this is the first one. This is the first video I'm making for this new channel of mine. I have a couple other channels, but they're not really about politics or current events or anything. They're more about my own hobbies and recreation and whatnot. So they don't really have anything to do with this. So I don't really need to get into any depth on those. But I've wanted to do this for a while. I've been thinking for quite a while about getting another political commentary from a liberal progressive viewpoint out there, because there aren't already a ton of those. No, there are. And there's some good ones that you may already be listening to yourself. You may be subscribed to. Some of them I've just discovered recently. I really like Steve Shives, I think his name is. There are quite a few others. I'm not so big on the Midas Touch anymore. I feel like they've gotten kind of clickbaity and smarmy, but they have some good content still too. But I figured as many of those people as have YouTube channels and are doing similar things as there are, I still have some different skews to kind of look at, some nuance to think about, and maybe bring up with you guys and see if we can have some interesting conversation, see if we can spark some debate. So channel's called the Liberal-tarian, which obviously is a combination of liberal and libertarian. I'm quite liberal, quite progressive. I don't really like the word progressive, but I am. I'm a Democrat. So in the words of Will Rogers, I belong to no organized political party. We sure know that right now. But the libertarian part is part of it too. Like, there are some things where I have absolute individual rights beliefs that, shall we say, trump some of my liberal views. And so it's a mix. We're all complicated, right? Most of this is going to be, well, a lot of this is going to be anti-Trump. Sometimes we'll go off on other things. But today's video is probably going to be called Truck Fump, because YouTube doesn't like certain kinds of language. And they particularly don't like it when you're talking about really serious issues around certain things to do with bodily autonomy. So I'm going to try to avoid those words and to try to avoid profanity while not totally avoiding it. But today I think we need to talk a little bit about Pete Hegseth, because Pete Hegseth has been shown to be, well, he's certainly an accused rapist. He is now also being accused of just bilking the veterans nonprofits that he was the head of. He seems to like to party on the company dime quite a lot, and also do quite a lot of drinking on the company dime, and even not on the company dime. I just actually heard something on, I think it might have been an MSNBC segment, saying that tons and tons of Fox staffers have had concerns about his drinking as recently as within the past month, where he came on set and apparently they could smell alcohol in his breath. So not a good look. Also not a good look when you've never run much of anything. Granted, he was a major in, I think, the Army. I believe it was the Army. Maybe it was the Marines. I'm not sure. And there's certainly, no flies on that. Good for him. But he was in charge of like a squad or a platoon maybe of 20-something guys. That does not qualify you to run the Department of Defense. There's no such thing as a SecDef who their only experience prior to the job really was at a mid-administrative level at the platoon level. And being a Fox weekend host, not even a regular host, ain't a good look either. What's really the worst look, though, right now, is that his mommy is having to plead his case for him on Fox News. It's really sad. She wrote a from the heart letter to him a number of years ago about his womanizing and his poor treatment of women and his abusive behaviors and all of that. And now she's really trying to walk it back. She's really trying to make a solid plea for his case to be SecDef. And she's kind of retracting most of what she said about him in that original note, which I'm sure was the actual honest thing. But, whose mommy doesn't want their boy to be SecDef? Kid needs a job. Kid really needs a job now. So yeah, she walked it back on Fox News, and it was pretty disappointing. It was typical Fox News talking points, talking about how the left-wing media skewed it and took things out of context and threatened her. Another word for threatening is saying, hey, we're going to print this. We'd love to have your comments on it. And if we don't have your comments on it, we're going to go ahead and print it anyway. She perceives that as a threat, as most conservatives do perceive things like that because they're so thick-skinned. It's funny how the F Your Feelings crowd really has a lot of big feels. They have a whole lot of just pent-up, ragey little feelings that they need help with. And sometimes it interferes with their job, and they need their mommies to come help sort it out. All these men, all these supposed alphas who actually have a lot of hatred and disdain toward women, they still need their mommies in middle age. It's funny, but not funny. It's really funny, but not funny. I personally think that Hegseth is not going to get confirmed because there are quite a few Republican senators who seem to be willing to buck him and Trump. I'm wondering, actually, I think it's pretty likely that he's going to go the way of Matt Gaetz and not even go to confirmation hearings because it would be too embarrassing to answer the truth and the real questions about all of his behaviors, all of his background, his writings. His writings are really a pretty crimson indictment, where he talks about his feelings about white supremacy. He doesn't necessarily use that term, but that's what it is. His feelings about Muslims, his feelings about women in the military, particularly in combat. A lot of really regressive, retrograde stuff. He's just full of it on a host of levels, really full of it. So I'm actually really wondering if he's even going to see a confirmation hearing room with senators up on the dais asking him the tough questions. If he does, I'm really curious if he'll break down and cry like Brett Kavanaugh did and just talk about how much he likes beer. Could happen. You never know. These guys, if they are anything, they are predictably unpredictable, and they are really emotional. The alphas, the so-called alphas, are so emotional and really have a hard time holding it together. They need anger management therapy. They need some group work. So I'm really taking bets at this point as to whether he even makes it that far. There's talk about Ron DeSantis, Ron DeSanctimonious, as Trump calls him, or used to, maybe taking up the reins for that job. That would be kind of funny. It would be infinitesimally better. At least Ron DeSantis isn't a complete you-know-what show of a human being. I mean, he is, but not in the completely erratic, like you're hauled into the cop shop for disorderly conduct sort of way, the way Hegseth is. So he would be a horrible choice, but he would be like maybe 1 point less horrible choice than Hegseth. And he's been a governor, so he has a little bit of management experience. He knows how to run administrative institutions, sort of. So we'll see. I have a feeling it'll probably go that way. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But I imagine sometime this week we'll probably know a little more about whether Hegseth's out the door and kicked down the road and who's in, and if it's Ron DeSanctimonious, which I suspect it will be. But we'll just have to wait and see. All right, folks. So, about the channel, I'm going to try to post here as often as I can. As you can see, I'm in my vehicle, and this is probably just the best sound room that I've got. My office in my house is not really good for that. Plus, there would be a cat walking across the computer desk all the time, which would be a bit of a distraction. So I'm probably going to make a lot of these out here. I'm hoping to get a better microphone, a wireless mic pretty soon here, so you guys don't have to listen to really crappy iPhone sounds, audio. And we'll see how it goes. Please feel free to comment. I'd love to get some conversation and engagement here. Get some ideas flowing, talk to you guys. And see where we can make this go. So, thus endeth the rant, and truck Fump.